Aloha, friends and neighbors. Rollin Frost here, Kona Astrologer. You know, every now and then I recommend books to you folks, and sometimes there are video doings that are really worthwhile, like Zeitgeist. I hope you all watch Zeitgeist, spelled with a Z. If you haven't, you know, go to YouTube and get into Zeitgeist. Well, here's a new one for you. It's called The Culture High. And I just saw this yesterday. See, this went on 4 days ago. It's got 400 views is all. Some of the trailers got thousands, 35,000s, but this thing is an hour and 59 minutes long, and it starts off interested in the drug war and the whole marijuana craziness, you know, but it gets into amazing depth. I thought it was the high culture, but they've got it down here as the culture high, and this is really worth seeing. And it explains a lot of things, a lot of the institutions in our country and how they've gone awry. Even explain what happened to CNN and why the news is not the news anymore. So this is kind of like Zeitgeist, and you know, this is a chance to have somebody put a lot of the problems together, and there's a larger understanding here possible. All right, this is show number 956, and we're going to cover the last few days in March and the first few days in April 2015, and there's an eclipse coming up. Yeah, the first is a lunar eclipse on the 4th, and this one happens to be really close to Jupiter trining Uranus, and this is a good time, you know, around this period and following it for even a whole month. Enlightenment, good time to watch Culture High or Zeitgeist. Anyway, a lot of common sense truth comes out, and it's really an amazing sort of an eclipse. It's very troublesome in the U.S. government chart, and it sets off the old Uranus-Pluto thing, huh? So I got a lot more to say about this eclipse. And, you know, an eclipse of the moon, great lady dies. Eclipse of the sun, great male man dies. So eclipse of the sun lots of times would get the king. You know, an eclipse of the moon would get the queen. So, you know, this is in Libra at 14 degrees. And if your rising sign is 13, 14, 15 degrees of Libra, you know, you want to really be cautious for a while, a few days before this eclipse and a few days after it, because eclipses take things away. And you're looking at the moon here, and it just goes out into shadow. It kind of disappears. So eclipses are a good time to get rid of things. This is a full moon on Libra. If you wanted to get rid of your habit of eating too many chocolate sweets, you could use this eclipse to give up your bad habit of eating chocolates every night. You can use the eclipse to get rid of things that you don't want around, or clean up, make things disappear. That's the idea. Now, there's some really interesting sides to this eclipse. And because it's pretty much right on Jupiter, I mean, the eclipse is at 14 degrees, Jupiter is stationing at 12.5. So this eclipse makes an exact sextile to Jupiter. Jupiter stops on the 8th. Yeah, 4 days after the eclipse. Wow. Jupiter, the great benefic, huh? People laugh, they get optimistic. New lightning bolts of truth. Shazam! I just watched Zeitgeist, or Culture High. My goodness. The internet is Uranus, by the way. And when you watch Culture High, they get into what happened to the media over the years. I can tell you, having lived through all of this, and I'm almost 75, is that the changes have been, you know, all towards the right wing. I'm a little scared for the country right now. The Senate is Republican, the House is Republican. Those guys, they're Saturn. Jupiter is the progressives, huh? And people who want to heal and expand and put people first, the crescent of people over the cross of matter. See, Saturn is just the opposite, huh? Saturn is the cross of matter. Money above, the crescent is people. So this is a very liberal, progressive time. Now, this eclipse goes off on the USA Saturn. That's an important thing. It also sets off the old Uranus square Pluto, the panicky, the interruptions, and these two planets, these squares, which started off at 10 and went to 12, and is now up to 14, up to 16, 15, 16, hitting the USA square, Saturn. Saturn's at 14 Libra. So this is an eclipse on Saturn in the USA government chart. Saturn rules the 8th house of finances. There's the mortgage and the bankers, and I'm thinking of, what is it, Brennicky, the guy used to head the Fed, you know, and he was always on the tube. Oh, the interest rate go up, go down. Everybody just, you know, was breathless to wait and see what the two sentences that he would put out would be. And then after the great crash, they finally cornered him and said, what happened here? He said, well, I don't know. We thought the CEOs would take care of their stockholders, but they didn't. And he was gone. There's a banker, short little guy, deep voice, huh? So, you know, if an eclipse happens there, maybe the Fed goes bankrupt. No, they'll just print more. What's going on? This is the money of other people, people close to us. Maybe, Israel's going bankrupt. And I don't know what it is, but it has a finance side to it. And it made me worry over the mortgages and stuff. And so when I looked to see what was going on with Jupiter, well, Jupiter is stopping in the USA 4th house on the homes, on the real estate. And so, you know, they may collapse the banks or something go on there, but they will save the homes. And that's what the great outcry is here around April 8th. And for the whole month during this kind of, the month following this eclipse is a panicky month. And there's going to be financial difficulties, and in the country, in the government. Oh well, obstacles, huh? That's what squares are. The Uranus-Pluto square, for a minute. Let's talk about it. You've been living with it for a while. What you're used to now is, you know that Pluto is cops, guys in black with guns, and Hell's Angels and snipers and stuff. But Pluto is basically that policeman in black with the gun. And you know, where the first few months of this year, I think the police killed 300-400 people in this country. Yeah, police killed 1,200, 1,400 people every year here. So they're dangerous. You gotta be careful with them. But who's Uranus? Well, Uranus is squaring Pluto. And every time it goes off, you get video. Uranus is, everybody's got a cell phone that can put things on the internet. The cop shoots the homeless guy, and somebody over there was videotaping it and puts it on the internet, and wow, they're going to put video cameras on policemen? Wow. So this is a confrontation. It's an obstacle. Uranus is an obstacle to the police having full control and power. And they're getting in the way of what the police are doing. It's that Uranus-Pluto square has a lot of different sides to it. Anyway, truth and wisdom, huh? Comes up 20 days before this, 20 days after. It's a little, you know, normal distribution curve, huh? And so here's the 8th, and it's comes up here a week or two before and peaks out and goes down. So more lightning bolts of truth and wisdom. Shazam, Jove says. And everybody says, oh, now we understand. That's what you're in for. And the internet is a valuable component. That's really what's saving us all in this world right now. It's the real harbinger of the age of Aquarius, the internet. Well, now you got a little background. Let's get to the work at hand. We want to go through these next 2 weekends for you so you can plan ahead a little bit, huh? And we got the pattern of planets here. And there's Saturn squaring Neptune. Wow. We're going to start judging some of these oil companies. Clergy, drugs. Oh, the drug, you know, that video. culture high, what they go after the drug thing on TV where take this drug and then it has a dozen side effects, and then the lawyers it's kind of clownish really, but there's a lot of that going on. Saturn squaring Neptune, judge 'em. And here's Pluto squaring Uranus. Look out, more obstacles there to both sides. But here's Jupiter being nice and happy, and he's going to shed some truth and wisdom on it all. What we do is we run the moon around the edge of this chart, and as it makes angles to these various actors on the stage, it generates the mood of the times. The moon is kind of like the little pictures inside your head. You've got your own little video or movie going on, see? And those, the things you see and the things that you pass by your inner eye. So here it is, the moon's going around the edge, and it's in Cancer Thursday night, but there's a square to the sun and you're not feeling very ambitious. Friday morning early, here's a nice trine to Neptune, and there's music, and there's inspiration, and even more. Here's a sextile to Venus. Oh boy, Venus and Neptune in sextile. So this could be very loving and sweet and beautiful, religiously sexy. Friday morning the 27th. Look out though, don't be seduced too far into this, because Friday the moon's in Cancer, and when it gets to that middle of Cancer here, it hits that Pluto-Uranus square. Eek! Here's sirens, here the power goes out, here's the wind coming up, here's emergencies, here's aloneness. Happening again. It's Friday night, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. Depends on your location a little bit. It's not so hot. Sorry. Yeah. And Mars is in there too. I mean, it looks like we can communicate, and there's a lot of people helping. Chiron is there. I'm putting that on charts from now on. So the helpers are communicating Saturday morning. But, you know, Mars is here, and Mars, he makes everything a little worse after being through the Uranus-Pluto thing. So the feeling of emergency isn't going to go away, even though there's help and there's information on the middle of Saturday the 28th. You're still going to feel that sense of emergency, you know, until basically the moon goes into Leo and you're in the Jupiter zone. Hooray! You'll feel that Saturday night. After dinner, around dinner time, the moon goes into Leo, and Jupiter is there. There's optimism, understanding, flashes of insights. Da-da-da-da, the lawyer says. Aha, the jury says, now we see it clear. Da-da-da-da, the professor says. Oh, the students say, now we understand. That's what Jupiter loves. You may find yourself, you know, putting out some of those pearls of wisdom yourself. It's very responsible Saturday morning. Nice trine to Saturn. Trine to the sun in the middle of the day. I'm getting stuff done. I got a good plan. I'm optimistic. Not lots of nice new information Sunday night. There is, however, a square to Venus late Sunday night. There's no rest. Don't expect rewards. There's no sweets or sex. You might think there is, but it's a square. There's brotherhood around. You feel that Monday morning. Yeah, here's a trine to Uranus. So Jupiter trine Uranus this whole period, Sunday, Monday, you know, is a good time for you to, you know, watch Culture High on YouTube. I think my shows are on YouTube also. Anyway, whoa, nice Sunday, Monday. Very nice. Good time to dump the sweets. Yeah. You know, it's bad enough the American food industry feeds you sodium chloride and calls it salt, which screws up all your mineral balances. Salt is sea salt, includes a myriad of different salts, same like your blood, but industry gives you sodium chloride. Ugh. I don't know, you can't even begin to go after sugar and sweets. They have really messed with all the sweets. And, you know, you could stand by honey. It's probably the only sweet that has pretty much without contamination. And anyway, look out for sweets. On Monday the 30th, the moon's in Leo, and you're feeling pretty good all day, right through early Tuesday morning. Here's a nice trine to Mars. There's a lot of energy. I got stuff to do. I'm a hero. I'm going out and doing it. Monday night, Tuesday morning. No problems until the moon goes into Virgo here on Tuesday the 31st. And then late Tuesday, here's a square to Saturn and the opposition to Neptune. We got water problems. Things are leaking. You know, I've got leaks in my house. I can't believe it. One faucet, you know, I want to tell you about it. It comes and goes. Anyway, this is very worrisome. Makes you insecure about a lot of stuff. And difficulties and slowdowns. And this could be melting ice and flooding and stuff going on different places too on the last day of March. April 1st. Is that April Fool's Day? I think so. Moon's still in Virgo. Not a bad day if you're over the confusion and the holdups of Tuesday. You got bogged down. Wednesday night, finally, here's sextile to Pluto. And information comes out, and you know, here's a sextile to Venus. There's some pleasure and fun here. Opposition to Chiron late 12 o'clock 1 a.m. so the helpers aren't helping, but it's pretty sweet. And new information helped things a lot Wednesday night. Thursday the moon's still in Virgo, and not too bad. There is a few problems communicating Thursday night with Mercury here. But this is the old new moon point, huh? And Thursday evening could be a little rocky. If you've had a tough month, well, it's Thursday afternoon and evening will be kind of tough too. The last of it, of the whole new moon problem, until here's the next one. Here's the full moon, and Mercury's there making a fuss. Problems communicating, but Jupiter's in sextile, so it's Friday night. And it is a full moon, and it's an eclipse. And so, you know, Friday night you want security. A lot of people are going to go out and party. There's going to be noise and laugh. Here's the North Node. Everybody feels like nurturing and taking care of everybody. They got their budget. There's a nice sextile to Saturn here Friday morning. So there could be enormous celebration here. I don't know what it's all about, but, you know, common sense triumphs. You got a whole month after this full moon. Flashes of insight. I've been looking at all this, you know, loosening the marijuana drug war, and they put it in the hands of doctors and dispensaries, and guys come in and grab all the money, and the public suffers. I went to Colorado, where it's wide open, recreational. Let capitalism work much better. Having prescriptions written by doctors, that's scary. Let's, you know, I wouldn't even applaud dispensaries and the medical thing anymore after I saw what I did in Colorado. Just another truth. Friday night comes on, and Saturday you'll be going, oh boy, look at that. Wow. Right through Sunday morning, moon's still in Libra. It doesn't get tough till the opposition to Mars. Sunday afternoon, you're ticked off at the young people. But, you know, still some spiritual, artistic stuff happens here Sunday night, the 5th. And too much noise, too much expansion here Monday morning. Everybody's going out to do stuff, so take some extra time if you're going to go somewhere. Hold that temper down there Sunday, middle of the day in the afternoon, huh? Okay, here's the website. skymirrorastrology.com/TV. That's my website. I just want you to encourage you to use the internet to get the show. On this website, you can get the last 4 shows really easy anytime you want. And you know, these public television stations are not as dependable and easy to use as you'd like, particularly Olelo. So those of you on Oahu, you should get used to using the internet. Okay, there's one of my favorite amakuas, Honu, lifting his head out of the water and looking up at the sky. The only animal I know that regularly checks out the sky mirror, huh? Anyway, you can go here and find out more about me and what's going on and the app that's so important. And you can also, you can go just below here, and here's the show for March 14th, and here's the show for March 6th, here's the show for February 27th, get the idea? Here's the show for February 20th, I don't know how far back they go, there's February 13th, well, you can go back and check up on me, February 6th, there, that's a lot of shows. And you click there and you get the whole show and watch anytime you want. All right, I'm sitting here on March 16th, and Saturn just stopped on the 13th, huh? And here's the USA government chart. Here's Saturn stopping at 4:55 Sag to go backwards. Now it opposes the rising sign here, and I'm really interested to see what Saturn's going to do, because when it stops it gets super powerful, and it's opposed to the body here. Now this is part of an ongoing research thing on the chart of the US, and let me just fill you in on the last one. That's when Mars went by and opposed the rising sign back in September, and squared the moon and opposed Uranus. And I had a little schedule here, and I was careful to watch what came up in the world, and I'm particularly now interested in this one. That was September 21st. Here's some notes. On September 17th, let's see what happened there. Oh, a lot of horrible stuff. On the 19th, mother with knife. Oh, there was a young man got into the White House with a knife. Now, I was particularly looking for young men. That's Mars, huh? We're looking at Saturn now. There was a bit of a news blackout, but there he was on the 19th. Just 2 days off of there. Yeah. On the 24th of September, I have a note. ISIS threatens subways. And that's a little closer to when Mars opposed Uranus at 8:56, the ruler of the 10th house. Uranus has to do with airplanes, subways, mass transit, mass communications. So that was kind of a classic, that Mars opposed Uranus. Yeah. So this is what we're after now is Saturn. Now I'm studying these two guys because Mars is called the lesser malefic, and Saturn the greater malefic. Mars is really this, okay? And both of these guys are troublemakers. Saturn much worse than Mars, but they put money and physical stuff first. They operate on the physical environment, so they're both very physical. That's why I knew when Mars opposed the U.S. rising sign and stuff, we'd get some action. There's a young man running around the White House with a knife. Eek! Saturn now is a little different guy, but he's still, here's the devil in a way. Here's, the head of the Fed or something, and I'm just a day or so past it, so I haven't really found out what Saturn opposing the rising sign was. But I got kind of interested in Saturn and thought, well, I wonder what happens when the British burn down the White House. Maybe that would tell me more about things. That was August 24th, 1814. Well, long story short, there was a new moon at 23 Cancer on July 17th. That's when, the new moon was, see, the U.S. body is at 24 Cancer. And so we had a new moon right on there, and a lot of emphasis on the body. And what happened next was Saturn moved up and hit 25 Capricorn 06. Now, our enemies are Pluto here at 27, but our ruler is 2401, and Saturn stationed at 2506, 1 degree off. So this was Saturn again, opposing the body. I was interested in who the British were, so I went back and I put Here's the U.S. government chart in the center again to see who is in the house of enemies. And you know who was there but Neptune. That's who the British was. They were Neptune. And somehow they had finances. And they had a lock on the contracts and the finances and stuff. But Neptune was our enemy then. Remember when 9/11 happened, Pluto drifted into this area. Well, the British are Neptune, red, white, and blue. That's quite a discovery. And here's the other guy, Mars. It's a 3 Virgo 49. That's less than 2 degrees off squaring the rising sign and opposing the moon in the U.S. chart. So Mars was a bad guy, Saturn was a bad guy, and the British came and burned down Washington, D.C. Eek! A Brit. Years ago I had a good friend, her name was Monique Bernadette. She was a psychic counselor in Honolulu. And I did a lot of chart work for her and for her friends and things, and she taught her a lot of astrology. In the end, what she was most interested in was the eclipses. She just called me up every few months, where's the next eclipse? Okay, well, you had an eclipse March 9th, and here's where it was total. And, you know, this area, yeah, it was covering us a little bit here, too. So this is where trouble seems to be. This is the solar eclipse, huh? The lunar eclipse you're about to have, they're not quite as strong as the solar eclipse, but in general, this is a trouble area. And, you know, we're back here in Indonesia and stuff again. Okay, when I put the lunar eclipse on the chart here, there's a bunch of stuff that's going on here where Uranus is on the IC, and you get chaos at home. You see it's clipped New Zealand and gone right through, yeah, Vanuatu. What is the islands here that just got hit with 200-mile-an-hour winds? Oh boy, we're going to be seeing that on TV for a while. And it looks like New Zealand is going to get whacked a little bit too. Yeah, the other area of intensity shows up right here. And that could be the Ebola thing because Pluto's on the bottom of the chart and Uranus is on the top. And ugh. Looks like crosshairs to me. There's Pluto on the descendant, cops and soldiers. Uranus on the midheaven, public chaos. South Node. Well, you see the area now, don't you? Well, I haven't heard from Monique in quite a while. But if she was listening, I'd say, lunar eclipse, 14 Libra. Look out, Libras and Aries in the middle. And the solar eclipse was at 59 Pisces. Ooh, look out, Pisces.